There we go. Good evening. My name is Jameis. I am a programmer with Waterloo Public Library. My job is to bring programs, activities, and talks to people, usually in person, but thanks to COVID, we're doing a lot more virtual. And welcome to tonight's presentation. Waterloo Public Library, in partnership with RCIScience, is bringing you this talk. I just want to talk a little bit briefly about WPL and some of our virtual programs that you may or may not be interested in that are coming out. We have been doing lots of programs that involve kits. So we have been signing out and teaching people how to play ukuleles online. We're going to be signing out telescopes soon and be teaching people some astronomy. We've been even doing brewery tours and tastings and all sorts of other fun and interactive programs that you can do both online and at home. So yeah, I hope to see at least a few of you coming out and checking those out. And on that note, I'd like to turn things over to Celia from RCIScience to talk a little bit about our speaker in the presentation tonight.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jameis. So I'm from RCIScience. I'm the Virtual Engagement Coordinator. And welcome to Pixel Perfect, where we will tackle COVID-19 misinformation with video games. So actually, this is brought to us by Ridhi Patel. She's a third-year pre-med student, previously at the University of Waterloo and now at Brock University. She noticed a lot of misinformation around the current COVID-19 pandemic. And as an avid gamer, Ridhi decided to combat these misunderstandings by developing an online trivia game to promote top health practices. So feel free to play along with us at Quarantrivia. That's what it's called, along with us. And we help our hero, Dr. Pixel, save his pixel world from the coronavirus and quashing some myths about the disease along the way. It's quarantriviagame.com if you want to sort of pop in to see what that's like. Please feel free to share questions and comments in the chat box or via Twitter at RCIScience. Or you can also email information@rciscience.ca. But please remember to be polite and respectful. So I'm just going to do another quick introduction about Ridhi herself. As I said, she's an avid gamer. She worked with Dr. Joseph Nisimov from the Faculty of Science at the University of Waterloo to create Quarantrivia. And it's an online game combating the misinformation around the current pandemic. Having picked up her coding skills in her early university years and fostered her graphic design experience through extracurricular roles that she's had, Ridhi was well placed to develop this side project during lockdown. In addition to gaming, Ridhi has a wide variety of interests, including cooking, dancing, visual arts, running, and reading about current affairs in science and technology. She aspires to become a doctor who will continue to expand her skill set to serve the community around her. Thank you so much, Ridhi, for joining us. Can you tell us a little bit about Quarantrivia and how it came to be?
For sure, and thank you for providing me with the opportunity today to talk about this project and misinformation that it is tackling. So Quarantrivia is actually a project that I've developed to combat COVID-19 misinformation, and more specifically, we call it the COVID-19 infodemic now because of the magnitude and the scale that it affects all people. And so I want to start off with why this was such an important topic to tackle for me. And we've seen since the beginning of this pandemic that social media has been having a very large effect on all of us. Actually, ever since lockdown started, the reality is for a lot of us, our daily lives have moved online. Social media is the way that we primarily use to communicate with people, with our friends, coworkers, everybody. And it is largely attributed, all the misinformation has been attributed to social media. But I think a key component that we often forget is our own roles in actually propagating that information. And so through this project, what we wanted to focus on is that link between social media and the community where we come in. And so through Quarantrivia, we wanted to promote the ability to be critical of all the information that we are consuming on social media, to really think about where that information is coming from, who is releasing that kind of information, what their agendas are, and to be accountable for the information we are sharing, to realize that what we are going to be talking about, what information, again, that we are relaying on our own pages and our own accounts can really affect the community, not even just around us, but also because of the because of the nature of technology, it can affect people globally, worldwide, very fast. And through this game, we also want to encourage government recommended guidelines for us to stay safe during this pandemic, as opposed to notorious websites that would guide us in another direction in misleading ways. Yeah, and so why I chose to make it a game was a question that I've gotten very often. And there are certainly risks versus benefits to gamifying any project. And the risks that would come with this one would be, I guess, a lot of people would think that it might not be as serious to communicate COVID-19 and its measures through a game, or that it can lead to negative competition or demotivation of actually learning the information because it's in a game. It's presented as a game, right? But there's a lot more benefits to it, as how I see it, because we've seen in the past two decades or so that games have actually shown to be have a very rich educational foundation to them. We can see that recently, we've been using Minecraft in classrooms to promote collaboration between players and critical thinking. With games like Big Brain Academy and Quiz Up, we're promoting general knowledge, cognitive thinking. And more importantly, games are actually appealing to all kinds of demographics, not just children and not just teenagers, but through games like 8-Ball Pool, Candy Crush Saga, and even more recently, Among Us, we've seen that it is appealing to a wide variety of audience. And so to me, I thought that this would be a direct way to appeal to a large demographic and to, more importantly, in such a stressful time, to convey that information in a clear, concise, and a more recreational way. So it's fun to consume.
Yeah, that's a really great point. And I think it's great. It's framed really well, I think. Actually, can you talk a little bit about what gamification is
Right.
and what that means?
So gamification is a term that's usually applied to projects whenever you are going to introduce a reward factor, I guess, in a broad sense. So a reward factor here would be a point system, or getting the motivation to actually do the work because you're going to get a goal out of it, right? You're going to achieve a goal. And that's what I mean by gamification. But we're taking it a step further here, where we're actually engaging through the graphics, through the creativity. We're going to promote player-to-player collaboration, things like that. And yeah, so by gaming,
that's great. Yeah, because it's like rewarding learning this information that maybe you wouldn't really care to learn as much. So that's great.
Right. Yeah, just presenting it in a more fun and digestible manner. So it's not necessarily all just facts and like you have to read through, or very, I guess, streamlined.
For sure.
And so in Quarantrivia, we get all of our information from these sources that I've listed here: Public Health Agency of Canada, the World Health Organization, and Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. A majority of our information comes from these organizations, and we have very good reasons for trusting them. They've had a really clean track record of publishing their articles and their research, and they're very transparent with that. Now, these are also organizations where their motivation is to actually solve global issues, global health issues from a global perspective. It's not necessarily to push a political agenda or malicious marketing or anything like that. And the biggest thing about these organizations is, again, the transparency that they provide, that if we are skeptical of any of the information that they are saying, we can go check it for ourselves on their websites and on these publications, and we can also cross-reference them and see other scientists in the same fields, other experts who have published same kinds of findings. And yeah.
Do you have any tips for people who aren't sure, like how would they verify stuff like that if they see it on the website?
Yes, for sure. So we have a couple of resources, actually. If you go to quarantriviagame.com, and I will talk about this later, in our links and resources page, we have a couple sites that you can go to check for yourselves whether the news outlets that you're consuming your media from, whether they are trustworthy or not. There are several websites that have been set up for that exact purpose. Now, if you go to these three organizations' websites in particular, you can see their FAQ section, which generally addresses most questions that anybody would have. And they also have links in those sections to their publications and to the sources where they're getting their information from. So I would highly recommend just going to the websites of these organizations themselves to get that information.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. And so with that, we can definitely dive into playing the game and seeing how this plays out, I guess, practically. So
I just wanted to ask, as you're getting the game set up, what is your relationship with gaming? I know you're an avid gamer. How did you get into it and stuff like that?
So I've been gaming since I was very young, actually, since I was like 12, 13. And I started off with obviously phone games, console games, things like Call of Duty, Candy Crush, Temple Run.
I like the diversity of that.
Yeah, and so I've actually had a very diverse history with gaming. I use it for educational purposes, I use it for recreational purposes, and for connecting with my friends. So I can definitely see that it has implications in a wide variety of fields, and that's where the motivation to actually create a game came from, because I just see it as so much fun in so many different areas.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Thank you.
Yeah. So should we start at Quarantrivia?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. Okay. So if you go to the homepage here, you can see the version that we have currently of the game and when it was published. So that's just a factor of transparency that we've provided. And you can just click continue the game to get started. And the premise of the whole game is actually our hero is Dr. Pixel, and he lives in the Pixel world where they've contracted this newfound viral particle. And Dr. Pixel is trying to save Pixel World from this virus. The player's job is to equip Dr. Pixel with the right knowledge so that he can defeat the virus safely. And yeah, so diving right in, the first option here, Play Quarantrivia, is the main game. Now I'd like to point out that we do have 3 different versions of the game. And so Quarantrivia is the original, and it is the most basic one. It has all of the kind of basic facts around COVID-19, and when it first emerged, all the kinds of myths that were going around it. That's what this version tackles in particular.
Right. So I would also encourage anybody watching to also open up this game and play along with us and see if you can rack up all the points.
Yeah, definitely. Let's see how much we know.
Great.
So continuing to the first level. Now, here we have little Pixel, who is obviously scared of the viral particle and needs help. And so Dr. Pixel is going to try and answer some of these questions to see if he can defeat the viral particle. So first one, COVID-19 is the name of a, what would you think?
I'm gonna say disease.
Yeah. So yeah. Let's see. Yeah. Good job. So definitely you were right on. And this means that we've gained 10 points right here, obviously. And so the neat thing about this is when you do answer a question right, you get some encouragement, a good animation, and sometimes some extra information. Now, when you do answer a question wrong, it'll be a similar deal, but you will be presented with the correct information instead. So you don't have to be discouraged.
And if anyone has questions as well along the way, please feel free to let us know and we'll answer them when the time comes.
For sure.
All right,
yes.
Let's continue.
Yeah. So what is the name of the coronavirus that causes the COVID-19 disease? Which one do we want to select?
Yeah, I feel like this went around at the beginning as well in terms of what do we call it? What is COVID-19 versus like SARS or stuff like that?
Yeah, and there was just so these are like kinds of questions where there would be some ambiguity around them at the beginning, but I think people are pretty well versed with it now. So many months into the pandemic.
Yes, yeah. So SARS-CoV too. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So if we select that one, yeah, you are correct, and there you go.
Awesome.
Just 10.
I like the party hat. It's a great.
Thank you. Thank you. But yeah, so what is the source of the SARS-CoV-2 coronavirus? Now, for this one, let's just say we don't know the answer.
Yeah.
And say we select a laboratory. So then, in that case, it will actually take you to the correct answer that we don't know what its origin for sure is, but it is related to bats. And regardless of its exact origin, scientists are confident that the virus is not engineered artificially. So it gives you the correct information enough to answer the question itself with a scarier animation, I guess.
Yeah.
Right, and moving on. Which of the following is a popular conspiracy theory not backed by any scientific evidence?
Okay. So the first one we've talked about, man-made, comes from laboratory. The second one, naturally occurring. So we talked about that being the truth, right? That originated in animals. Law of thermodynamics, I believe, is more physics.
Right. It's still but still science.
Yeah, I'd say A.
You're right.
Yeah.
And yeah, perfect. Right on.
Awesome.
And yeah, so this would be like the last question of this category. And so I should also explain that each round is divided into 3 smaller levels, which have 5 questions each. So all of the questions in this game are split category-wise. And it's a great way for, I guess, younger audiences to start playing the game. So they get more of a background knowledge on what the virus is and what this pandemic is. And yeah, so the last one is, how long can SARS-CoV-2 coronavirus stay alive on surfaces? Yeah. So what do we think?
Yeah, I feel like all of these have sort of popped up in news media.
Yeah.
Seeing various answers. I think the more detailed seems the most correct, right?
Right.
Depending on the surface and environmental conditions.
Yeah, exactly. And again, so if we go back, it really does say that depending on the type of surface and environmental conditions, it could be different, right?
Right.
And that is our understanding so far of it. And now, as soon as this changes, we are updating the game, and we would change that information to what the correct information is as soon as we do know.
Right.
Right. Now, we can move on to a more, I guess, challenging or a more fun part of the game. And so that would be the myth versus reality bonus round. And so I would direct the audience to go up here on the home page, click on the home button, so it'll take you to the home page again. And you click on continue to game. And once we're on this screen, we would click on the second option right here, or sorry, the third option right here, myth versus reality.
Okay.
Right.
And this one, we're really encouraging people to write their answers in the comments. And we're going to set a timer. There it is.
There you go. Yeah. So this one's going to be a bit more competitive here.
Okay. I'm looking forward to seeing what people will type in. I'm not going to answer this time. We'll keep it for like 10 seconds for each question.
Right. And then we can just see the verdict, I guess. Yeah. Feel free to type M for myth and R for reality if that's shorter and nicer. And now, yeah. So also for this game, actually, though, there is a catch. You will lose 10 points if you get the answer wrong, and you gain 10 points if you get the answer right. So that also adds to a little bit of that competitive aspect of the game.
So we've leveled up here.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and it's kind of going to be more like a rapid fire. So you'll be presented with a statement, and the player's job will be to kind of figure out whether it's myth or reality within 10 seconds once we start the timer. Right, so are we ready?
We're ready.
Okay.
I mean, I hope so.
So, reality or myth, kids cannot catch the COVID-19 disease. And
10 seconds goes by pretty fast. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So what is it?
Did we get any response?
I'm not sure yet. I don't think so, but that's okay.
Right. So, I mean, if there's 10 seconds, you'll be like, oh, I don't know. Is that myth? Is that reality? I think that's a myth.
Right. And I think there is a little bit of a delay between what we are having right now and what people are seeing. So it's okay. I think they might come in a little bit later.
Right. And I definitely encourage people who are playing at home or with their friends to set a timer, I guess, like, in person over there, so you guys can compete within.
Yeah. Well, actually, now I'm seeing some comments have rolled in and they have said myth. So yeah, I think
we got it.
Our audience is doing well.
Yeah. And now second one, I guess. So reality or myth, various home remedies can cure or prevent you from catching COVID-19. It goes by really fast.
It does. Oh my gosh, 10 seconds. I was going to say, like, home remedies, you hear that a lot for any disease, really, anything that makes you feel uncomfortable, whether or not it's a disease or maybe like allergies, right? There's a lot of home remedies that people kind of swear by.
Definitely. And I think that's also one of the major contributing factors to the misinformation around COVID-19, that there's home remedies or that there's ways to boost your immune system when those things aren't really scientifically backed up by any data. And so they're usually just marketing schemes or they induce anxiety in people. And that's also a really big problem that we're trying to address here.
Right. Yes. So what is our answer for this?
So if we say that that's a myth, good work, right? And
I saw in the comments we have myth as well. So actually, I'm going to let them decide for the next, question. How about that?
Okay, yeah, for sure. So I can also just, I will read the question first and then start the timer.
Sure, yes, that makes sense.
Okay. So reality or myth? You can be infected by COVID-19 but show no symptoms of having the disease.
And that's a really good one as well.
Yeah. So this level of the game is just kind of compiling all the bigger myths or myths that were going around social media at the time.
Yeah.
And time's up.
Time's up. I don't see anything right now, but that's okay. It might just be a little bit late. We've got 2 realities. That's what I see so far.
Oh, okay. So if we go with reality. Awesome. Wow, we're on a roll.
Amazing. We got 4 realities actually, now that I see them all coming in. So
awesome. So our audience is smart.
We do have a smart audience for sure.
Okay, reality or myth? Ingesting or putting chemical disinfectants, bleach, peroxides, etc. into your body can either prevent the SARS-CoV-2 coronavirus from entering or kill the virus once it has entered your body. And this one's a bit longer, but
a little bit more to digest.
Yeah, definitely. And this one was a myth also that was pushed by world leaders, celebrities, and things like that. So this one was a big one as well.
Yeah.
So very concerning.
we have definitely have a couple coming in with myths. Someone really emphasized that was a myth with like 10 H's at the end.
So myth it is, I guess real selected.
Yeah.
Wow, so smart. So Dr. Patel approves as well. Perfect. And I guess this is the last one. Let's see for this round. We'll play through 5 of each.
Okay.
So reality or myth? You should expose your body to temperatures greater than 25 degrees Celsius or 77 degrees Fahrenheit to prevent catching the COVID-19 causing coronavirus. What do we think?
It's really interesting.
And for these ones, you would think that there might be some science that might actually back this up,
Right. Because you think like heat usually kills things, right? That's why we boil a lot of stuff.
Yeah, like it seems kind of intuitive.
We've got 2 myths coming in.
Okay.
So maybe and one person very, very sure that it's a myth. Very long, many letters. Myth.
Okay, it's very emphasized.
Yes.
5 questions on no team. Nice. Okay, and we have a little pixel here too. So yeah, good job. Thank you everybody for helping out with that one.
Yeah, that was great. The pressure's off. I feel like it's nice to have the audience answer for us.
Yes, for sure. So I guess I'll keep the timer here for the next one as well. I guess that's more interactive. Yeah. And I will just direct everybody to, again, if you are playing along, go click on home. And now this one is going to be a little bit different. I kind of catered it towards this presentation itself to show you how we've incorporated the user feedback to create different versions of the game.
So when before we get started, unless you want to integrate that, I was wondering what has been some of the feedback that you've received on this game before getting to this level.
Sure, yes. So with this level specifically, what we've received was that they would like to see more animations, more engaging animations. They really like that aspect of it, the aspect of user engagement. So we wanted to include more of that. We also wanted to give them another way of tackling the question. So so far, it is a trivia game, so it does seem kind of streamlined. But we want to now start incorporating other ways that you might be able to tackle the questions or the answers themselves.
Yeah.
And so you'll get an idea of what I mean once we actually do dive in.
Okay.
So if we go here to option B, play Quarantrivia New World Phase 3, that should take us to this page here, and we will click here to go to the next one.
Okay, I hope our audience is ready, and they're gonna add their answers in here.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, so I'm going to just take you through the story for this one.
Okay, sounds good.
And so Dr. Pixel still hasn't been able to get rid of the viral particle. It's still hanging around there, scaring the citizens anytime he's trying to help them. So, and this has to do more with, again, as the name says, New World Phase 3. So with the schools and offices, work, economies reopening, and how to keep ourselves safe in that environment.
That's great. Yeah, because I think with things reopening and the rules feel like they're changing a lot, so it can be really confusing for people to know what they can and shouldn't do.
Exactly. Yes, and there's just there's so much advice out there that you should like what kinds of measures you should take. So we just wanted to provide it in a really concise and in one place, all of that information of what you should be doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the story for this one, again, now little Pixel's grown up, it's just Pixel now, and Pixel needs help to run errands and to tackle the world in Phase 3, and Dr. Pixel has to help him or her. So if we go to here, we'll go to play game. Now this is specifically for this presentation. So once this presentation is over, you won't see it in this format or in this order.
Okay.
But you will still be able to play the game in the original order.
Okay.
Right. Just to clarify for the audience.
Okay.
Yeah. So the first question, which of the following is not an important measure to take when going out into an open space, outdoors for a walk or run?
All right. So our audience can put in A, B, C, D, or E.
Mm-hmm.
We have one already saying all.
Okay.
That person was very fast. E, yes.
Yes. Okay. So if we click on E, yeah, you're doing awesome. Great. So that was the correct answer. All of the ones listed there were important measures to take when you're outside. None of them could be ignored. Now, what are some ways to stay active at home as recommended by the World Health Organization? So yeah, the audience can go again.
Yeah, so A, reducing long periods of sitting time, stretching, walking or running, all of these answers. I think we're seeing all of the above again.
Okay. Right. Yeah. Okay, so all of the above, and awesome, yeah. So now, as it says here, we're going to change up the last couple of questions, and this is what I meant by incorporating some of that user feedback into here. Yeah.
Okay.
So now we're actually going to dive into the story where the Pixel citizen has to run some errands, and as you can see, the virus is right here ready to attack, so we have to make sure that they're safe. So upon arrival to the destination, what is the first thing that Pixel should do before approaching the store or office? And so we have three options here.
Mm-hmm. Wear a mask, sanitize the car, or wash hands.
Yeah.
It
might be a bit straightforward, but...
Well, I was thinking about how would you sanitize the car?
Right.
Like if you were to do that every time.
Yeah, I mean, some people might be like, yeah, I need to sanitize the steering wheel or the
I
handles.
mean, I do that.
Sometimes. Yeah. Right,
but
like
pandemic too. But yeah, we have a lot of A's coming in. We have a couple C's as well.
Okay. So I guess if we have more A's.
Yeah, we have more A's.
So then we will go with A. And yeah, so you're right. And in that case, that you should wear a mask as soon as you get to the destination, so that there's not an imminent risk of infecting anybody else. Right. And if we continue, which one is the proper way to wear a mask? As simple as it may be, this one's also very trivial. We see people all the time, not, I guess, getting this one as well.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, we're not used to necessarily wearing a mask here all the time. So it can be uncomfortable, which makes sense.
it's also easy to forget like why we should be wearing it the proper way, or
Right.
keeping that in mind.
Yeah. We're getting C's.
Okay.
Yeah. And someone raised a really good comment actually about social versus physical distancing. Yeah, do you have any insight on sort of the differences between those terms, or like the use of either?
I see both terms kind of go hand in hand from how I see it, because the term social distancing, I feel like, is used more in a setting, or like where you have more people around you, or you are talking about socially distancing from those people. But when we talk about distancing by ourselves, I think we're talking more so about the individual aspect, and how that's, again, an accountability term, that it falls on our own actions, kind of,
right?
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
So to me,
yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
both go hand in hand to me. They both kind of entail the same thing, but it's just more so of a perspective difference.
Right. Yeah. And I think some people, they really love the social aspect of things. And I guess physical distancing helps us think about it as it's not being like you can't be social at all. It just means we can't be physically.
Right. Yeah, like physical distancing. Yeah, exactly. It's more like it's your own action that you're doing.
Right.
Yeah. So if we continue.
Yeah, I think your audience is doing really great.
Yeah, they definitely are. Upon arrival at the destination, what is the next thing that Pixel should do now that they have a mask? And so here again, we've tried to kind of expand these animations and make them a little bit more engaging. And you kind of have to look at them to maybe get hints for the question.
Oh, like you're sprinkling in the hints if
right.
unsure.
So yeah, what does the audience think?
Yeah, okay, so I'm seeing A's coming in.
Okay, and if we click on A, well, they're correct. They know it.
Wow, they're ready to go.
Yeah.
And yeah, if anyone has any questions, please feel free to type them in. We'll answer them as they come.
And so this would be the second last question, I think. Pixel needs help with some of their errands. What did Pixel do wrong when talking to the store office employee? And so if we take a closer look.
Did not hug the employee after taking the help. I mean, what else, right? Like, they deserve a hug.
Right, exactly. I mean, they must be feeling lonely, with all the social distancing. So
I see the animation.
Thank you.
I'm seeing I think we're seeing C's coming in.
Okay.
Oh, someone said C, but B is pretty rough too.
Well, they're not wrong. I mean, I definitely feel that. I'm definitely a person.
Yeah, they're nice.
Yeah. So if we click C, wow, that was a good catch. Good eye. You saw that they took off their mask.
Yeah.
And the last one. So it seems like there is some wait time to get the job done. Where is the best place for Pixel to wait? And there's a couple options for this one, actually.
Okay. By the door, in a corner, designated waiting line, outside, both C and D. Okay, time's up. We'll just wait to see the responses. Okay, a couple of E's already.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, our audience is really on fire. Good job. And so we've successfully helped Pixel run their errands.
Amazing.
And now this was because we played through half of the game, we've only answered about half of the questions. And you can definitely play through the whole game by just going, clicking on home, or just clicking here to go back to the beginning.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So yeah, I know that you're updating the game as new information is coming out. So how do you stay updated on all of the information? Because I know that there's a lot, and sometimes people feel overwhelmed, me included, with all the latest news about COVID-19.
Right. No, definitely. And the thing with this game is, again, we are addressing like a lot of topics, and we have a lot of information in here. And so the simplest way for me to actually keep the game updated is for me to go over the content every 2 or 3 days, look at all of the links that we have provided in those answers, the correct ones and the wrong ones, and to see when those pages were last updated. So that is my direct way of referencing when these organizations change their information. And if that correlates to the data that we have in game or in the question, I would go in and update that question and that answer. And then you will see it reflect on that title page where I showed earlier, where it says the version number. That version number would change and the date beside it would change to when the game was last updated. So we are also trying to keep that as transparent as possible, so people know if we are, again, regularly checking it and when we have last updated this game.
Right, that's really great. I love the transparency. And how often do you tend to update at this point?
So recently, with all the information that we have in the game currently, it seems to be pretty set. That kind of information has not changed much in the past couple months. So our last update was actually at the beginning of October, but we are, again, checking it every 2 or 3 days just in case that does change, because it is a very uncertain time. So we're always on our toes. It's not necessarily a scheduled thing.
Yeah, and I know you're a student, so it must be like a lot to juggle.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely can get sometimes a little bit busy, but it's something that I want to do in my own time. So
right. That's awesome. Yeah. So as you finish up, again, we're welcoming questions. Please, type them in the chat box, tweet at us, or email us, and we will definitely get to them at the end of this presentation.
Yeah, for sure. And do feel free to ask them as I am presenting if something does come up right then. But yeah. Now that we've looked at the game and how that works, this is to show you guys how we kind of incorporate that data into, making new iterations of the game and new versions of it. Mm-hmm. So you can see here in the top chart that this is the amount of users we've acquired since the first release of the game. There's been about 3,600 people playing it worldwide. And we can see that anytime we've released a new version is usually when we acquire the most users. Now, an interesting thing is, the more amount of time that they are spending on this game, the more questions they are getting correct. So we are seeing a positive correlation between, the game, its use, and the information that people are getting. And the chart here at the bottom is actually from the Quarantrivia main game. So it only showcases about 1,600 of the users that have played the game in total, and their scores over the month. And again, as we can see, the more time they do spend on it, the higher score they tend to get. So yeah. Now, with these points in mind, what we're trying to do is, again, ensure regular updates and release new versions of the game so we can acquire more users. Now, that all, again, ties everything well together. We are trying to also, through this data collection, trying to see what kind of feedback we're getting, what kind of things users or players want to see more from us. And just trying to incorporate that.
Have you received any negative feedback?
So the negative feedback that does come to this resource or at this game is usually from people who are first very hesitant to believe that COVID-19 is actually a serious problem. And the big thing to keep in mind with this resource is that we're not trying to target necessarily people who don't think it's a problem, but we're trying to help people who want to look for the right information. And so my focus here is to trying to take criticism from those who are actually using the resource and who want to see improvements in the resource. Because there's only so much you can do about people who don't think that the pandemic exists, right?
Right, right. So the main audience for your game is essentially those who aren't sure what they should do, but believe that the pandemic is something to be concerned about.
Yes, exactly. It's really targeted to anybody who really wants to keep themselves and their community, their household safe, but aren't really sure how to do so or want to be better equipped at doing so. And so we want to provide them with all the measures that they can possibly take.
Right, awesome. And we also had a comment in the chat saying, awesome stats.
Oh.
Or very cool
right,
stats.
Thank you. And updating this and sharing this with users because we do want to keep it as transparent as possible. And again, just to highlight, so to tie all that together, what this resource is trying to promote the importance of knowing the correct information in this day and age, because it is just so easy to get carried away with the amounts of information that we are seeing circulating around us. Thousands of facts and articles a day, right? And it's so easy to just click that one button share without thinking about the accountability of our own actions. So that's definitely one. The second point, we want to debunk false information through Quarantrivia, and by, again, addressing it directly through the levels like myth versus reality, getting right to the point that this is not true, this is the actual reality, and you may have heard this, but contrary to the popular belief, things like that. And the evolutionary nature of good science is also something that we're trying to really emphasize through this game. And what we mean by that is that in this pandemic, it's easy to, again, forget that science is not just a collection of facts that will never change. That's not what a scientific method is. At its core, science is to take new information that we're learning, to incorporate it and to revise our already established procedures, methods, and our projected outcomes, and to revise them, to review them, and to see if that's going to change. And if that is going to change, if it's going to have an impact, to change our methods and our beliefs, right? That's what we want our public health officials and our government officials to do in such an uncertain time, to be updated that way. And so we want to remind everybody through this game that, again, we are keeping this game updated as we get new information as well. So it's not necessarily bad to take a new outlook or to change our perspective, to change how we are combating this pandemic as we are learning new things. And a really big example of that was actually, I want to touch on the CDC example, that where people started having mistrust in that organization because they had said something at the beginning of the pandemic, and then they said something contrary to it later on when they learned new information. Yeah. And that's actually quite what we would want to happen with organizations that we trust. Right?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
And again, so you asked earlier about the additional resources. So apart from Quarantrivia itself, again, this is just one of the ways that we are trying to tackle this problem. It's a much bigger problem, misinformation around COVID-19. And so there are many, many resources that are available to the general public. And we have included some of those. If you click on the links and resources tab on the main page, you can actually see these two right here. The Center for Inquiry for Coronavirus. They have a pretty neat outline of all the big headlines that could be or would be circulating at the time, and to debunk them. And NewsGuard, I'm not sure if the audience has heard of it, but it's also pretty big on debunking malicious websites, especially news outlets. And so you can see here right now they have 338 websites on there that are blacklisted for containing false information. Definitely a great place to look to see where you're getting your information from, and if that's correct or not, accurate or not. And yeah. So this project would have not been possible without these people that I have mentioned here on this slide. Dr. Joseph Misimo from the University of Waterloo is my professor and supervisor on this project. And he was one of the first people to actually believe that this project would make an impact and it would be very useful. This research is in virology and ecology, so it's directly applicable, his expertise, to this project. And he has really ensured that all of the content is accurate and adding to the credibility of the game itself. I would also really like to thank Faculty of Science and the communications team at the University of Waterloo, because they really helped write that foundation financially and communication-wise to start this project. And I would also like to thank the Typeform SL team for, again, endorsing this project financially and making it possible by providing us with a platform to actually host the game. And yeah. So thank you, and I am going to, again, be releasing new versions of this game. We are planning on tackling topics like vaccination and the flu, and to do with COVID-19 and how that plays out and what we can do to better protect ourselves. So I'm going to continue working with these organizations and these people to keep this game updated as best as I can to provide the most accurate information during this pandemic.
Thank you so much. We do have a few questions. Will you release a French version?
So I am not a French expert by any means, and releasing this game in different languages was definitely a part of when we first had idealized the project. But recently, I don't think it's going to be possible for us to release in different languages. I think for now we're just going to stick to English. But if we do acquire more users, that's definitely something that we will do, because it has been a part of the plan.
Right.
Right.
I also wanted to ask about how it started with Dr. Joseph Nisimov. Like, how, I guess, did it come to be that you guys talked about this and, you know, brought this to life?
Right. So I kind of had to do my own research into finding out who I can reach out to. And I saw that his expertise, again, was in the area of virology and ecology. And so I thought that he would be ideal. And so I hadn't worked with him before. I just shot him an email and I told him about this idea that I had because of this free time that I had. And I didn't know what I was expecting, but he actually replied super enthusiastically, and he was really passionate about this project just as much as I was. So he jumped right on board, and he's been helping me throughout.
That's awesome. I love that.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
It was
it's always helpful. Yeah. Another question asks, which program were you studying at Waterloo more specifically than pre-med?
I was in honor science at the time when I created this game at Waterloo. But a lot of the technical aspects that I've used in this game came from my engineering program that I was at Waterloo before. Oh, yeah.
Sorry, I have a dog.
That's okay.
So we actually have another question by someone in grade 5. They ask, what's it like being a student right now?
Oh, right. Being a student right now it's kind of new. It's very different, to say the least. There's no more going, of course, in person, you know, dressing up in the morning, anything like that. So you get to do a lot of things on your own time, which is something that I appreciate. But at the same time, it's requiring a lot of organizational skills, time management skills, and really honing in on that aspect of development. So it's something that's exciting and challenging at the same time.
Yeah, I'm sure. Sorry, I had to mute myself again just in case. Someone asked me what the dog's name. My dog's name is Bobby. I have to pay the dog tax and hold him up if he's here. Oh, he is. Give me 1 second.
So cute.
This is my dog, Bobby. Yeah.
Hello. It's so cute.
Yeah, so I wanted to ask as well, sort of how was accessibility part of the ideation of this and the implementation of it?
Right. So from the get-go, I wanted to, again, make this project to be as accessible as possible. Initially, the whole point of this project was to make it a free, accessible tool available to anybody that has a decent internet connection and any kind of computer device. It could be personal, mobile, a console that has a web browser, anything. And so we wanted to make this, of course, available for free to anybody that wanted to seek out the right information. And Typeform has definitely played a huge role in making that possible right now, as well as the University of Waterloo by funding this project. And so huge thanks and shout out to them for actually making that possible.
Yeah, that's awesome. And so did you know about Typeform before that it can be used in this way?
No, actually. So I was not planning to use any external programs at all. I was planning to actually code the game again, with the help of like external people, but that ended up falling through, and I had to ultimately do it myself, which is when I discovered Typeform. They were providing their services as a resource because of the pandemic, and so yeah, so it just happened to work out really well together to use all these resources available to me and to actually make something out of it. So yeah.
Awesome. And then I have another question, but again, if there are any more questions, please feel free to write them in again and we can address them now. I have another question about debunking and how do you go about debunking? Because I know it can be difficult and everyone's now talking about how do you properly debunk, and everyone is interested in doing that. So what was sort of your process of doing that?
So first and foremost, I would want to, again, if there is information out there that seems, is this correct? Is it not correct? First and foremost, just look at the source. Again, who is saying this information? What is what is their intent? What is their motivation? Do they have a motivation at all to be saying this kind of thing? So that would be the first place that I would look. And then the second thing is, again, to just even do a quick Google search to see if there's any publications, any articles, any actual scientific evidence that backs up these claims. And it's quite easy to actually find all these journals because they are public, and read through them and see how credible they are. And so those two are like the main steps that I would take in actually debunking information. And if you want to debunking again for other people, again, it's important to keep in mind who we are targeting that towards. You can't really change the mind of people who are set in a straight ideology or in radical political beliefs. So again, that aspect also comes into play.
I think that's really important to keep in mind, yeah, because we've seen that sort of dialogue as well around climate change and how to talk about climate change. So absolutely, I think that's really good to keep in mind. Yeah, any other tips? Like if my friend is like, oh yeah, I can totally hang out with my other friends that I don't live with. Do you have any tips on like how you would talk to them about that?
Yeah, so usually you would go about asking why, I guess, they believe what they believe, or like why they think that this information is credible or not. And again, to be equipped on your end and to be equipped with the correct information or with the correct sources is very important, because once you do dive into that territory of questioning where people are coming from, it's very important that you kind of have your own back.
Yeah.
And yeah, also backed by scientific evidence. So that.
Yeah, thank you so much. This was really great. I think the discussion was really great. People were really engaged and had great questions as well. So thank you so much, Ridhi and Jamis as well, for putting this together. For our audience, we hope you enjoyed today's discussion. And please feel free to share your feedback with us. We do have a link, and I think our RCI Science representative will be posting a link there. But if not, it's bit.ly/RCIS-pixel-perfect. We also have a lot of cool events coming up, so please check our website at RCIScience.ca, and you can also see what's on by going to our website and going to what's on. You can also follow us on social media at RCI Science. We're on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, and you can also share your experiences of the event. We would love to see your photos and comments. You can even post a photo of you playing the game.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Feel free to take the screenshot at the end where it says how much points you earned, and see how you guys did.
Yeah, that would be great, because I feel like we have a lot of great Quarantrivia players here in our group. You can also subscribe. You can also subscribe to our monthly newsletter, which is rciscience.ca/subscribe. And thank you everyone for joining in. I hope you guys had so much fun. We did get a lot of great comments. They want to use your game instead of CBC, and our grade 5 student says it was very motivating to watch. So I'm so glad we were able to have you on, and thank you so much for everything that you've done.
Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to actually talk about this again and to promote good information, good science. Thank you.
Thank you.